Good afternoon, good morning, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Folks, here we are. So it's all about the preemptive strikes that Israel conducted on Iran overnight, and now we're waiting for the potential retaliation from Iran back to Israel. They have assured the world that it will come, but it's still not here at the moment. So we're sort of in that sense of anticipation for more geopolitical risk. The reaction around the world has been what you'd typically expect. Equity markets selling off heavily, but definite dip buying notable, and volatility has surged higher. So risk is for more downside in the very near term. Bonds, the market hasn't seen a big bid into bonds. In fact, bonds have sold off. A little bit of an initial bid, but that's retracing as well. Gold continues to surge higher. That is a obvious beneficiary of this geopolitical risk. Dip buying in gold makes sense. Silver, nice hammer reversal. WTI Brent crude. Notice Goldman Sachs saying they don't see anything structurally changing for the oil markets because of the amount of shale supply from the US. Obviously, US producers are now huge contributors to global oil supply, and I'd expect this to eventually be faded. Copper obviously down on the risk aversion, iron ore down on the risk aversion. The dollar up, so we're seeing positive flows into the dollar, which is quite reassuring to see actually.
And on the EMFX footing, just seeing the latest Reuters poll, BCB expects to hold benchmark interest rates steady at 14.75% on June 18th, according to 27 of 39 economists polled by Reuters. While the other 12 do see a 25 basis point hike.
The sell US narrative, nice to see that the dollar's finding some risk aversion bids. Just shows you that the market's still, it is still the world's reserve currency, and receiving bids I think is quite a reassuring thing to see. Certainly we haven't seen that for a while. Swiss franc and yen, strongest currencies, Aussie and New Zealand dollar weakest. So it's just clearly risk off markets. In terms of data, we've got Michigan's preliminary reading. There's 2 a month of the University of Michigan reports. This is the preliminary, and that can impact markets strongly. That's coming up at 3 o'clock. In the background, we've got all this geopolitical risk. If this inflation comes in hot, if you start having the 1 year, above 6.6, 5 year above 4.2.
According to Iranian press, loud explosions heard near an airbase in Iran's Hamadan.
That will concern markets, but remember the latest CPI print is showing inflation is moving lower. We have now seen a continuous jobless claim print that was concerning yesterday. So have a look at this here. It was this print that got markets continuing jobless claims above markets maximum expectations, showing weakness in the labor market. Remember, the US Federal Reserve has a twin mandate, which is stable prices, inflation, but moving lower, which they can say, okay, they're achieving that, and maximum employment. Okay, if joblessness picks up, then that'll be a concern. The last non-farm payroll print was fine. There was no major problem there, but continuing jobless claims picking up is showing weakness. So that will be picked up by markets. So seeing some selling does make sense. And if we see a very weak University of Michigan print, seeing more selling makes sense as well. So that's where we are. Geopolitical risk, headline risk, could happen any time. Initially, if we see a retaliation from Iran as a result of Israel's attack, then look for downside in the E-mini, look for upside in gold, and probably upside in oil. The data at 3 o'clock will be worth looking at. And in terms of the overall look of the market,
just referring to typical footing, reportedly sirens sound in Israel's north.
Okay, so sirens sounding in Israel's north, that could be the retaliation underway. Let's see how equity markets respond to that. Okay, another big move. But if you look here, 1 hour, you see the cumulative delta, yes, heavily lower overnight, which is what you'd expect. Quite a few thousand contracts short, but definite bottoming price action. You can see in the weekly profile, we're trying to push above that weekly profile high here. So price trying to push above, find support here. So keep an eye on that. Delta has picked up all through the early morning, and we had a price retracing. Pushing above that area is trying to find a bit of upside, but look at this resistance zone here. Resistance, resistance, resistance. price has moved into resistance, trying to find some support. So we're a critical support stroke resistance area. On the 15-minute, if we sort of break down underneath this area at the open and you see delta negative, then it wouldn't be unreasonable to maybe, look for a back down to this sort of 5977 region. But we will see how delta is when we actually start the session. So kind of difficult day because it's going to be headline driven. But we need to see if we see anything straightforward. At the moment, buyers have trapped some of these late sellers yesterday, and that does remain a support area. But we need to see how these buyers are respected or otherwise as we move into the US Open. And I'll be looking at the 15-minute chart to gauge where I'm going. Push above here, then we can carry on higher up to 6,005. If we get underneath this area here, 5986, then I look for retracements and look to sell back to that 5980, 5975 region. So two-way price action that I'm looking at. You can see some nice value areas that are very well defined. I've got a good support level here, that's worth looking at. And we've got a decent resistance level there just underneath the big round number 6,000. So we're in this kind of finding support here to move higher is fine. Breaking down through, then we could look for a move back down to 5970. All right, that's what I'm looking for. On the 15-minute, you got some buyers there who in the process, it's a question mark whether they're going to get trapped. And you got sort of breakout buyers here from that 5986 area, which is very significant. So two groups of significant buyers here and one group of significant sellers there. Okay, folks, that is all for now, and I will be back for the US Open just before, and we'll get stuck in. But that's basically what I'm looking for. Closing under that region here, then shorts makes a lot of sense, and then we'll see how the delta is. At the moment, just note delta negative, and there's the threat into this support area. But remember that this is a point of control from last week and a value area high. So this is strong support here. So coming into that area is a strong support area on the weekly. And so that runs from, 88 down to 76. That's 88 down to 76. So this is a quite strong support area here. And you can see that that's been building with sellers getting trapped there, which does make this a nice potential value area for buyers. Okay, we'll see though. Obviously breaking down through here, we've got a potential to run down. Just bearing in mind that we're running down into this value area high, which is fine because the delta's moving lower. And we just got to be careful of dip buys the further we go down. Okay, so point of control is now up there, 6,006. Here we've got a little retracement. Going to have a little go at retracement probably. Buyers stepping in, but less volume each time. We've got the standard deviation holding, had another test. Let's see whether the buyers are able to take it or whether we just continue to drop. Let's see. Okay. Very nice. Okay, buyers trying to trap, not trap sellers yet. Sellers are still there. Point of control pushing up. Okay, interesting. Buyers trapping sellers here. Can they do it? volume, little flag breakout here. Right, I'm going with that because you got a flag breakout. Very nice one. See that little... Right, so you've got breakout, pullback, and a breakout of the flag pattern on high volume. So I'm going to stay with that and see what we get. Delta positive. The only thing that's slightly tricky is going straight up into that value area. That's a tricky thing. But structurally, I do like it. So you've got a retest now of the structure. Buyers trapping the sellers. Let's see if they come in here. That's the area for them to defend. That's the flag structure holding. Buyers holding, that's okay. Everyone's still there. Delta trying to come in here, which makes sense. Point of control holding. Cumulative delta rising. Price just trying to take out these near-term sellers. Let's see how far we get. And that'll be the next target. So next target would be to sell one if we get up there. Okay, flagpole, flag, breakout on volume, pullback. It's absolutely fine. That all makes sense. Let's have a look. Standard deviation holding. Okay, developing a value area low here. So that's near-term support in line with the standard deviation. So other side of the flag structure is the stop. Cumulative delta trying to build. Had some buyers trapped there. So that's the first sign of weakness. Point of control dropping. Standard deviation holding. Developing value area holding. Okay, sellers trying to come in now. That's some of those sellers there, getting some confidence. Okay, testing the channel again.
And a quick spot check across the markets after US cash equity open. But US
that's it.
indices are low across the board. The Russell 2000 underperforming, down at 1.2%. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 both down 0.8.
Okay, so I'm out on this account, and that's the maximum I can lose for that day, so that's fine. Nothing wrong with it, it's just the way it goes. But I've re-entered on the other account with that 15-minute entry. So, which is, you see the fact that those buyers here trap those sellers, and just as price moved to the standard deviation and the trap sellers, that gave me the reason to enter. So I've got that position running in micros here. Right, so I'm going to see how that runs. Now, the thing I'll be careful of here is that I don't want to see sellers trapping these breakout buyers here. So we'll have to see how the market reacts to this. As it stands, you've got sellers trapping those breakout buyers, pull back, sellers coming back in. So let's see. My entry is on those trapped sellers. So looking for this to hold this region. And then if it doesn't hold, then my stops are underneath this 15-minute candle. So you can see the stops are underneath that 15-minute candle on the micros. And I'm just going to manage it from there.